Welcome, everybody. It's time for another episode of the Get Off My Lawn podcast, which is, of course, the best show that nobody's watching. We're going to just kind of chill a little bit tonight because I knew that I wasn't going to have a lot of time over the weekend and this week to do any prep. And I also found out here at the end of the week last week that LB 77 here in Nebraska, our permitless carry bill, had been scheduled for the second round of debate there in the Senate chamber, and that happened uh, yesterday afternoon, last evening. So we'll talk about that. I thought, you know what better topic for the show to recap that a little bit. I did not get a chance to watch all of the debate, but I caught I don't know, close to half of it. So we'll just kind of talk about that a little bit, maybe a few of the other bills that are going through the legislature and why it's taking so long to get everything done this year. We'll hit on that, and then we'll just chill. We'll see where the conversation goes and see if we have a short show, cool, and if it goes, we'll keep going. So get out there in the comments and let us know that you are out there. We'll put that up on the screen there. Especially if you are watching live, of course. We want to know where you are. So on any of these platforms, we cannot see you if you don't tell us that you're out there. So let me do this real quick. I've got to rearrange my screen just a little bit because I can actually pop this live chat out on the Rumble side. So let's do that. And if you're watching on Rumble and you're catching us live right now, drop comments. We want to know that you are there. So let's mute that up so I don't get feedback. And we should be all good to go. All right. And if you are on the YouTubes or on the Book of the Faces, we want to know that too. We are streaming right now live on all three: YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. If you have not yet moved over to rumble.com, please do so. It's a super cool platform. Also, you can find this show and a whole lot of other ones over at the Self Defense Radio Network. You can go check that out at selfdefense.net or sdrn.us, whichever is easiest to remember. Very proud to be included in that group of cool shows. We are brought to you tonight by Sandhills Defense, which is the training company that Sandhills Sweetheart and I own. That's what we were doing over the weekend. We conducted the first concealed handgun permit class of the year. Hey, Gary's over there on Rumble. What's up, Gizzard? I see you. I see you seeing me on Rumble, Gary. He said, I can't put those up on the screen here from Rumble. I can put the Facebook and YouTube comments up. But anyway, the first successful of class of the year for concealed handgun permit. And we're going to try and make those not necessary, but that doesn't mean that we won't still encourage people to take them, and we'll discuss why. But some good stuff going on there. So what is making all that racket over there? We need to throw the cat out of the room and close the door, I believe. But my producer doesn't agree with me, so I can't tell her what to do. She's the producer. All right. And of course, as we get in here, we will bring everybody on screen in just a moment. As we do that, keep in mind that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the individual expressing them, do not reflect the views of any of our sponsors or the other panelists or the host. I am wearing my NFOA hat tonight, but I am not here in official capacity. So again, my views, my opinions are my own, not necessarily an official NFOA position. We are also not offering any legal or medical advice because we're not lawyers, we're not doctors, we're just some smart people that actually know how the world should work, and we're not afraid to tell you about it. So, all right, let's get that off of there and bring this over here. Let's bring our folks on screen with us. So I did send out several links. I don't know if everybody got them or who's going to join tonight. I was kind of late getting here because I knew that I was going to have to work until a little after 6, and then instead of coming home like normal, I had to stay. We had our quarterly inventory count tonight at the store, so that took until a little after 7, and by the time I got home and ate something and got the show ready, it was later than what I thought it was. So I'm surprised that we got started only 5 or 6 minutes late. So that's still on time, right? So let us say hello to our illustrious panel here. Um, Off on the top side of the screen, if you're watching this on video, and if you're not watching us on video, you should, because like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, you can even watch it, not live, but you can watch the video on Spotify. So go check that out too, and you can catch us on audio wherever podcasts are popular. You can find us at almost all of the normal popular audio places and give us a listen there, but only Spotify lets you watch along. But here we go. So on my left, your right, to the right of my image, somewhere deep underground in an undisclosed location, there's a bunker, and in that bunker is a guy, and that guy's name is Pat. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. Yeah. Thanks for having me on tonight, John. Appreciate it. Can't wait to delve into this topic. Listened and watched some of it yesterday. I listened to the vast majority of it yesterday, so
Okay.
definitely ready to dive into this.
I
So,
didn't get a chance to listen to all of it, so you guys maybe have to fill me in. Those that did watch or did listen live to the unicameral's afternoon session, uh, we'll get some feedback maybe from out there in the crowd, and we'll just talk about some of the stuff that I can't talk about in the official capacity for NFOA. The stuff that I want to go off on, the stuff that I want to cheer, I can't do that on the
mm,
NFOA page, right? We can't be seen doing any kind of electioneering. So if what we say seems like we either endorse a candidate or oppose a candidate, it can't be that. Now we can comment on what they say, but even then, we have to be politically correct. We have to be diplomatic, I guess would be the right word, um, because NFOA really does welcome everybody. So you don't have to think like I do to be a member of NFOA. You don't have to vote like I do. You don't have to look like I do. We don't care who you are. If you own firearms and you're a Nebraskan, that's it. That's the criteria. You belong. So if you want to have other discussions, cool. We'll talk about that. So all right. Also joining us on screen right now, like I said, there may be others popping in later, but down in the Capitol, holding it down, trying to keep Lincoln from going completely liberal, everybody's favorite tactical teacher, Travis P. 1-1.
So just for the
Because
record, I'm trying to make Lincoln go libertarian, John. That's what we want. So that's what I'm representing tonight. So I'll tell you what, dude. I'm waiting for the Unicam to have its own reality TV show like Unicam season 1. They should
I
just
tell
be
you what,
filming the drama, have all these dramatic angles and cuts and stuff, and have like the behind the scenes chats and who's out in the hallway saying what. You could make I mean, this would be complete real life government drama in action right now. It would make we could just replay it over
do
C-SPAN.
you know
Yeah,
how many views that would get?
dude, it would go viral. I mean,
I mean,
imagine the
it
screaming and
really
bickering and
would.
yelling and
It
the
really would. And if
yeah
they would,
yeah
pick
Unicam season 1.
a couple of the outspoken senators on the right and a couple of the outspoken ones on the left and
Yeah
follow them around. And of course, there'd be segments on their when they're not in the building, because
yeah
they all have personal lives, right? And
yeah
most of them have other
exactly.
businesses. So, get to know your senator. It's
Then
not a bad idea.
at the end of the season, they
The-
put them all on the same couch and let them yell at each other for an hour. That would be great, you know?
well, that's what the session is
Yeah.
for.
Well, okay, that's a good point. I was gonna say, and then have a
At
show
the
where
end
they
of
have
the
to live
season,
together and then kick each other out one at a time,
instead
you
of
know?
the typical big couch episode, they just have
Yeah.
they live stream one of the sessions, and they'll watch Kavanaugh and Slama and Raybold all go at it in a three-way uh um what do I want to say,
Just gunfight,
like a
man.
Royal Rumble,
Verbal gunfight. Yeah, that's it. A verbal, yeah.
a verbal rumble.
Verbal rumble. Yeah. I'm telling
Yeah,
you, dude, they
a
can make
three
it
a
happen.
three-cornered a three-cornered verbal rumble. Although we need, because Kavanaugh and Raybold are our friends. They do team up. So if it's going to be a tag match, we got to bring who Slama would be a great backup partner. I just think Colonel Brewer would be perfect.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. This would be like the real world 2023. I mean, this would be a radical departure from anything else on TV right now. So I'm telling you, there's enough drama. You guys need to be
Honestly,
following our
from
Unicam
some of
because
the stuff
it's
from some of the stuff that I saw, because Raybold's a freshman senator, but so is what if I get the first name right? I think it's Teresa Ibaugh.
Okay.
And she is from Sumner, which is, for those of you that don't know Nebraska geography, that's kind of
North of
northwest of
Lexington.
Kearney,
Cubs Pub, baby.
northeast of Broken Bow.
Yep.
Or southeast.
Yeah, you go east.
Southeast of Broken Bow, I mean.
Yeah, you go east of Lex about 5 miles and then go north like 20 miles.
Yeah.
And then you take a right and it's right there. So
Yep.
kind of just south of the Sandhills, kind of in that
yeah,
early
kind of
part
south
of it.
of Broken Bow, a little east.
Beautiful little community, man.
What was the school down there? Sumner, Eddyville,
SEM, Myrna, SEM.
not Myrna. What else? What
Or I always
Miller.
mess with the name.
Sumner, Eddyville, Miller.
Is it Miller? Okay, I thought it was Myrna, but okay.
No,
there's Anselmo Myrna's up by Broken Bow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's west of Broken Bow.
Yeah.
So anyway, those of you that don't have Nebraska maps out right now or don't care, anyway, she's from a very rural part of right in the middle of Nebraska, and she's got some good stuff to say. And Slama's not afraid to break eggs to make an omelet. She's made that abundantly clear. Not just this year. She's got some experience being a senator now under her belt. Raybold is learning as she goes, I think, but she seems to be a quick study on how to be a thorn in the side of those of us that don't lean all the way to the left. And then, Michaela Cavanaugh seems to have it figured out too. She's being a bigger pill this year than Megan Hunt, which is saying something. So, and I can say all that stuff here on my channel. Thank goodness this isn't being restreamed over on NFOA. I'd be in big doo-doo. Okay, so we got a few questions out there. Who's out there in the chat right now? We got G-Webs and Gizzard Gary over on Rumble. We've got on the YouTube side, we've got G-Webs, Kingpin. We've got Sandhill Sweetheart out there. We've got Pat talking on his own YouTube there. And that must be on Pat's. There's also 223 DMR is out there. I can see you. Everybody else on screen or in the panel can't see, but I, being the host, I've got the master list of people here. Vanessa Kitty's out there. Woods is out there. Too much Nebraska at once. Woods ain't no thing. Okay, you can never get too much Nebraska at once or over a lifetime. It's just impossible.
Never enough Nebraska. Now you can get too much like sweet corn or maybe too much prime rib in one sitting. I've been there, but it's a good place to be.
Yeah, that's right. I don't even know if you can get too much prime rib. You can just get as much as you can hold, and then maybe a little more than you should have held. Still not too much. You just what you just can't do too much after eating a lot of prime rib. That's all. You got to
generally need a nap or just a
time.
nice walk in the forest.
All right. Somebody's brother's out there talking smack. I'm gonna put this up on the screen.
Out there.
Hunt.
Oh my gosh, Richard.
Well, use your imagination.
It's a family show. Pat's kids are watching right now, bro.
Now,
jeez, Uncle Rich.
I'm not. You know what? I'm not even afraid. This is my show. I do what I want. So I'm going to tell you exactly what Richard means out there. Richard says Hunt rhymes with punt, which is what we all want to do to some of these senators who have stupid ideas. We want to punt them completely out of the room. I know exactly what you meant, Richard. I'm picking up what you're laying down. Anybody who thought otherwise had a dirty mind, Travis.
Maybe he was talking about Nebraska spring season just kicking off because there was a lot of punting going on because it was their first day of spring practice.
It's a baseball thing.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Nice cover. Nice cover, John.
I'm just saying. Or a bunt cake. If you throw a D in the word, it becomes delicious.
Bunt.
That's in Lincoln, isn't it? So
nothing but cake. Nothing
they
but
don't.
Cake.
This is just a free plug, and I'm going to tell you though, if you ever get a chance, if you're in Lincoln, you get a chance to deal with Nothing Bunt Cakes.
Yeah,
that's awesome. The name of the business. Oh,
mini bunt cakes, bite-sized mini bunt cakes. People, you can eat them and drive. You can't do that any other way. You can eat and drive, eat a bunt cake and drive at the same time. Tractor, ATV, car, doesn't matter. Yep.
So their little bunt cakes are they're so delicious. You can't have just one. They're like Pringles, but better because they're cake.
Yeah,
and
bunt cakes are highly underrated.
Up a flavor, they can make it into a bunt cake for you.
This is true.
And bunch of little ones. You can do those for events and stuff. So good stuff out there. Let's see. Jeff's out there. Okay, Blitz, I see you. Travis is in and out with here and there. So if you're watching on, who do we have out there on Facebook? It says there's a couple. We need you guys to sound off now. And if you're new here, we want to know that you're out there watching and listening. We want to know where you're from. And I know that there are several people that do listen on the audio side. So audio listeners, challenge to you. Where are you? put a comment. If you got to pull over, if you're listening in the car, I get it. Pull over, hit a comment real quick on whatever platform you're listening on. And I may not get to see all of them, but I still want you to do this. I want you to comment where you are. And do you listen in the car, at work, at home? Maybe you live in your car, you use it for work, so it's all three. Gosh, that sounds like G-Webs. Listening from the van while I'm working and living in it down by the river. So Scott is over there on the Facebook, said in Nebraska. Hey, good enough for me. You don't have to get any more local than that. We're not doxing anybody except for this guy. Oops, not him. This guy checking in from Lincoln.
Get to
Ladies,
know me.
He's single.
What?
He likes to
Am
mingle.
I? When did that happen?
Wait,
yeah, it's been a year now. Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Get unsingle? You just didn't tell us, dude. If you find a lady friend, we've got to know, because I'll quit looking for you for a lady friend.
You were? I didn't know.
Maybe.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe.
There we go.
I know
All right.
a few eligible.
Pat, you too. Come on, Pat. Help a brother out here. Help me out, man.
Ladies. You know, can't say that they're hot. What?
Your wife's gonna start throwing stuff at you pretty
Did
soon. Man, I thought she was gonna jump in here.
Did the mic pick her up? She's starting to throw out names, ideas.
Speaking of single dudes.
Speaking of single
guy,
dudes, the other
most
Hemingway
bachelor just rolled
in
up
the
here, man.
capital
Look at that
city.
guy.
The
old man in the sea
game
right
is
there.
strong with these two ladies. I'm just saying.
Scott said it's a hat that got me single. I can go change it real quick if you want. So
Defense Dad has beard snacks.
I didn't say this is football. This could be volleyball. This could be shooting, competitive shooting. You know,
the best thing about beard snacks or a man with a beard like that is, you're never going to starve, because I don't care how far away from civilization you get. You comb through that beard, you're going to find something to eat, and you can take shelter in it. So if it starts to rain, you can crawl under that thing, and he'll keep you warm and dry.
Snuggle up with it. Yep.
Hell, there could be an HK up in here. You don't know.
That's right. Tell you what. I've got a picture that I need to send you guys. I'm not going to throw it up on the screen because it's kind of dumb, but it's nothing naughty. But I don't forget, you guys. I need to share with you a picture when we go off the air of speaking of HK. So, all right. Scott says go blue. He's in Nebraska, but apparently one of two things. He's either a Wolverines fan through and through, or he's an Ernest Hausman fan, probably, who isn't. He's a good, cool kid. Probably the best freshman linebacker I've seen in years. And with the change of the coaching staff, he transferred over to Michigan. So now Michigan's got a great middle linebacker who's going to tear it up as a sophomore this year. So anyway, Richard says they need concealed carry for the beard. That's kind of like what's that bra holster, the flashbang? I wonder if you could get some sort of a flashbang that tucks up underneath the beard.
Maybe get your face cover back on. There you go. You can put all kinds of stuff in there.
Right. So Scott says both, and I think that's to the Michigan and the Ernest Hausman thing. I dropped that name because his family's so cool. Those of you that don't know, my bride and I also have a DJ company. So our weekends are booked. We're either doing dances or we're doing classes, pretty much, or we're at work. Sometimes we double them up. But our DJ company, Ernest has two older sisters, and we have DJ'd both of their weddings, also his dad's 50th birthday party. So we're kind of like almost the official Hausman family DJs. So if Ernest gets married and if it's in Nebraska, great. If we need to travel to Ann Arbor, I'm not opposed. So I'm just saying, or anywhere else. But yeah, we're going to the Black Hills this winter for a wedding. So that'll be our farthest travel yet. So, all right. Way early in the show, I know Vanessa Kitty had asked what we're talking about for a carry bill. So Nebraska, we've talked about this a lot. If you didn't know this, you're either new to the show or you just don't pay attention to the show. But we've got a permitless carry bill that has now gone through 2 rounds of debate. There's one final round after this. It's got to go through 3 ultimately. So yesterday they had to go a minimum of 4 hours before they could call for a vote. And well, okay, so the short answer is, if there's not enough senators in the queue and they run out of things to say before the time limit, then they can call for a regular vote. It only takes a simple majority, which would be 25 votes yes to pass a bill. But, and we'll cover this a little bit later, but one of the senators who we already mentioned has sworn to, I'm paraphrasing, but burn this session to the ground, I think is how the article read. And they did quote her. Every conservative bill, she's going to waste time, filibuster, take it, waste as much time as she can and make this a pointless session in the legislature. As is her prerogative. I mean, that's how the rules work. She's not breaking rules, but it's the same thing as rolling on the floor, throwing a fit because of some of the bills that did come through that got passed out of committee, and now she's mad. So because of that, if she can't have what she wants, then nobody else gets what they want either, is ultimately what it comes down to. Now, the problem is, of course, just like everything else, we can't vote her out of office. We don't live in her district. And in order to do that, a better candidate would have to come along too. So there's the problems. But anyway, the first round of debate had to go a full 8 hours before they could call for a vote. It did. They took all 8 hours. They kept putting in different stupid amendments that had to be talked about too. So every amendment gets its own queue with all of the senators get 3 times on the microphone, 5 minutes each. So 15 minutes per senator, and every amendment gets another queue for that. So it's easy to gum up the works if that's what you want to do. And it passed through the first round with 36 votes. It needed 33 to defeat the filibuster. 25 won't do it. Keep in mind, as I tell this story, that we have 32 Republican senators in our unicameral, which leaves the other, what's that, 17? Is that right? Yeah, 17 that are registered Democrat. No independents this year. Now, the unicameral is supposed to be nonpartisan. That's why they designed it that way. So there's not, they don't put the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other side and have the traditional reaching across the aisle type stuff. They just mix them all wherever. Now, having said all of that, almost every vote on almost every bill follows party lines. So you don't see a lot of reaching across the proverbial aisle, even within our nonpartisan aisle-free, even though there is one, Senate. So in order to defeat a filibuster, 32 Republican senators can't pass anything without some help from some Democrats, because we need 33 votes if it's a full chamber. And so it got through the first round with 36 votes. We had 3 votes more than what we needed. Then it went to the second round of debate, which happened yesterday. That's 4 hours of debate before they can call for a vote. And it took the full 4 hours. We heard some good stuff. We heard some complete and utter BS. And then it did pass through. And because there were 4 senators who were missing, excused missing, 2/3 of the body wasn't 2/3 of 49. It was 2/3 of 45. So 30 votes would pass the bill on. 31 is what they got, which is cool. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit too. So that's where we are. It's gone through 2 rounds of debate. It goes back to what they call enrollment and review. In between the stages, it goes back in there. And basically, they read over it with a fine-tooth comb, check for grammatical errors, spelling errors, make sure everything's correct, and then retype it back up. So the third and final round, they call it final reading. Unless the Senate votes to waive this, the bill is read in its entirety, allowed in the chamber. And then they have to have one last debate for 2 more hours before they can call for a final vote on this bill. And if it passes that, then they print it out on fancy paper and send it over to the governor to sign. So we're there. We're waiting on round 3. We're waiting on the last debate. We got through the first 2. Last year, the similar bill died in this stage. This time it's still alive, kept going. So that's good. That's kind of like if you've got 3 rounds in the playoffs, right? You've got quarterfinals and semifinals and then finals, right? So we're through the semifinals. We're into the finals now. Is kind of where it's gone. Last year we got beat in the semis. So this year the bill is heading to the final debate. We still need everybody out there in Nebraska to contact all the senators. We did lose a couple of the senators who voted yes last time, who voted, well, they didn't vote. They chose to not vote, which is essentially a no without saying no. That's kind of like when the kid asks, hey, can we go do this? And you're like, we'll see, right? Which means no, but you don't want to cause the fit right there on the spot. So you say, we'll see, and give them like a little glimmer of hope, even though you know damn good and well that you're not going to actually give them what they want, or you would have told them yes to begin with. So, so that's where we are. Now, having fielded a lot of comments last night and today over some of the posts that we put up last night on the NFOA Facebook and Instagram pages, I've got to say a couple things that I really want to get off my chest. We showed the list of senators who were present not voting. We showed the list of senators, the 4 of them who were excused not voting, which means for whatever reason, I know one of them has some health issues, and he's a co-sponsor. He would have voted yes had he been there. The other 3 who were excused not voting they voted no last time. There's no reason to believe they would vote yes this time. So everybody, number one, that wants to complain about the senators who were present not voting, or especially the 4 who were excused not voting, saying that there shouldn't be an excuse. Well, do you get sick days at your work, or do you ever take a day off from your work? Because they get those too. They have doctor appointments, they have family obligations, they have businesses. Most of these people still have some sort of business that they make money at when they're not in session. And so sometimes other work obligations come up and will cause problems there for them to be there at the vote. So there are things that excuse them from being there. If those 4 had been there, we would have had 1 extra yes vote. We would have gotten to 32, but we would have required 33 because we would have needed 2/3 of all 49. Then we would have needed 33. We wouldn't have gotten it. So I'm actually, thank you, Lord, for the blessing of those 4 senators being gone, and that only one of them was a yes vote, and we actually didn't need. It was Senator Ray Aguilar out of Grand Island, and somebody had said in one of the comments he's got some health issues. So hopefully Senator Aguilar does get to feeling better, and it's nothing too serious. But anyway, so first and foremost, yeah, if you want to complain about the ones that are there and don't vote, that's a discussion that I'm with you on. But don't complain that they have days off from work, because we all get days off from work if we need them, especially if we're sick, right? So that just happens. That's part of the plan. Okay, we pay taxes to put kids in school from Monday through Friday, but they have snow days. They have other days where there's no school. Sometimes the teachers still have to go to work. Sometimes the teachers actually get a day off, but that's built in. It's part of the plan. It's normal. And you actually don't pay taxes for kids to be in school every day. You pay taxes for kids to be in school a certain number of days. So Travis, correct me if that's wrong, but
you're right.
Even the school kids get a day off every now and then, and even the teachers get some days off.
Yeah, you get accumulated sick leave, and you take it when you need it. But
yeah, so
I don't get sick, so
that's just the way it works. I mean, we all, whether we take them or not, we all get sick days. I may or may not have mentioned this to my boss that if we get LB 77 passed and it goes to the governor's desk, the day that he signs it, I want to try and get all of the NFOA board and some of the volunteers who've helped us work so hard to get the word out and help disseminate the information that we need. I'd love to have us all there in the room for that signing. And so if that happens, and we may not get a lot of forewarning, my work schedule may be already set. And I said, there may be a day that we have an appointment that we have to get to in Lincoln, and we might not get a lot of warning when that gets scheduled. I have to take a sick day and go to the doctor in Lincoln, and while I'm there, I'll probably stop and do some other stuff in Lincoln. And he laughed and he said, yeah, that makes sense. So he knows how important this is to me. He really is. I don't know that people say gun agnostic. He's not gun agnostic because he's sure that they exist. And that's what agnostic means, right? People, they're not sure that God exists. So my boss knows that guns exist. They're not his thing. He doesn't have a problem with them. He's one of those live and let live, which is, I think, ideal if you're not into guns. At least don't be against them. And he's a, whatever. Don't take people's stuff away if they haven't done anything bad with it. And he's got a pretty good mindset there for not being really a gun guy. But you know what? I'm not really a car guy. I feel the same way. You can have your hot rod. It's not for me, but I'm glad you like it. So the other thing that I want to complain about before we open this up and let you all chime in here, I got to get this off my chest. A lot of people are complaining in the comments on social media of the posts, and I put up 4 or 5 last night, and one more today. But people are complaining about the senators who were present not voting. Okay, because hey, even some of them who voted yes last time now chose not to vote yesterday. And I get it. They get pressured from special interest groups, lobbyists in their districts, right? Constituents in their districts. And 2 of these guys are from parts of Omaha that are very, very urbanized. They are the senators who have the largest concentrations of black and brown voters in Nebraska. And so they typically, those communities aren't as pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment as a lot of the rest of us. And I'm not saying that because of skin color. It's just the way it is. And they get a lot of pressure from their districts. And I believe that there may have been a little bit of pressure on those 2 guys. So I don't know what's going on. I do know that Brewer's going to sit and have a conversation with them. Okay. But overall, the senators who chose not to vote, which that's built in because it could be a conflict of interest. If there was a vote on something that would, it would say that you can, I don't know how I say this, that all of a sudden grocery stores don't have to pay property tax anymore or something like that, right? And if there's a senator who owns a chain of grocery stores, well, that would look kind of shifty if they tried to push that through, right? So they could recuse themselves from that vote. They could choose to not vote, and that would make sense in that case, right? Now, I don't know what the reasons are. There aren't any clear-cut reasons for a lot of these folks. I was very disappointed to see that Suzanne Geist, who is a registered Republican there in a district there in Lincoln, chose not to vote. I thought she'd be wishy-washy from the start, just because of the questions that she was asking during the committee hearing, as she's on the Judiciary Committee. And so I kind of wondered from the start if she was going to waffle on this one. And then she came through and voted yes in the first round. And I thought, okay, maybe we're getting somewhere. Now in this round, she's voted no. There's a lot of speculation. I cannot say definitively one way or the other. I am going to throw out some ideas just for people to think about. And if you live in her district, you have every right to ask her if this is the case, or if there's something different. You can require her to explain herself to you. She does answer to you, especially if you're in her district, right? So my thought is that she is also running for mayor in Lincoln, and that vote is coming up. I don't know when it is. I know it's in April. It's not a fall election; it's a spring election for Lincoln mayor. Do you guys know?
April 4th, I think, is when the vote is. Does that sound
Okay,
about right?
so
I think that's
next
her vote.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we're a week out from that election. Okay, that makes a lot of sense for what I'm going to say. If she doesn't vote, then Nobody can say she voted against this, right? So the pro 2A people of Lincoln can't say that she's anti-gun, anti-2A because she didn't vote against this bill. But on the other side, because there's a lot of liberal people in Lincoln, we know that, right? Lincoln's very, very left-leaning overall, it seems like. And so she needs the left-leaning vote, or a bunch of it, if she wants to get elected. She can't get elected by only conservative voters in Lincoln. There just simply aren't enough of you. The primary is April 4th. Okay. Mayor elections in May. So Jolene's out there and is helping me keep these things straight. So, all right. Thanks, Jolene. Keep me honest here. So anyway, the vote's about to come up between her and Stan Parker. All right. That's the other candidate in the primary there. So, she can't win the primary on only you conservative-minded people who may or may not vote for her. So she's going to have to not alienate either side. So I believe that would be the reasoning why she would not cast a vote last night on something that is a very polarizing topic. So that, and there were, there's a whole lot of phone calls and emails that I know came in throughout the day yesterday in light of the tragedy over in Nashville. And so, again, people get stirred up. People say, hey, how can you make things worse? How can you make this more likely? Whatever fear mongering they want to do that we all know is not actually true, but all's fair in love and war and politics. So there we go. Okay. Let me work back around to my point now, because I really want this to be a good soundbite. So if you want this bill to pass, Nebraska, I say this week in and week out, NFOA is not big enough. We don't have enough people doing anything here. NFOA's got very few people that actually do something, and a whole lot of people that say they're members, and that's, now I know how NRA feels about stuff. If you want this to pass, you've got to actually get off your asses and do something, Nebraska. You need to pressure these senators. You need to do it the right way, but you need to make it, no uncertain terms what you expect of them. Just be respectful in the process. Encourage them. Thank the ones that have voted yes 2 times in a row now. Thank the ones that voted yes the last time and ask them why they changed their mind and what do we need to do to change it back? We really need their vote to pass this into law. There's a lot of good reasons why this should be passed into law. So that's what we expect out of our fellow Nebraskans, is for you to get involved. If this doesn't pass and you didn't so much as pick up your phone and make a call or send off an email, which you can do from the couch, you don't even have to get up to do it with the wonders of modern technology. If you didn't do a damn thing to pass this bill, you not only do not get the right to bitch about not having permitless carry in Nebraska, but you do realize that is the same as a present not voting. And you bitch about the people that do that. So don't be present not voting in Nebraska. You have a vote. You are the second house. How do you vote? You tell the senators what you expect of them. And if they won't do what you want, you replace them. So get off your asses, Nebraskans, and let's get this done. But if you don't want to put any effort into it, then don't complain when the senators don't put any effort either, because they're just following the example that their fellow state people have set for them. So that's the biggest gripe I wanted to get off my chest. And anybody who says, what are you doing to get this passed? Or why didn't you guys get this passed? Well, because you were present not voting. That's why. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to take the gloves off and I'm going to tell people that. So no more present not voting out there. If you could hear my voice and you're in Nebraska, then you matter. And don't say, well, it doesn't do any good to call my senator. Yeah, that's a pretty defeatist attitude. Stop being pussy whipped, okay? Let's actually do something here. It only doesn't make a difference if everybody else feels the same way and you just let them win. Fine. Then again, don't bitch about the mess that you've let them make, because that's on you, not me. I'm doing what I can. There is more that I can do, sure, but I'm doing a lot, and every little bit helps. All I want is a phone call and or an email from each one of you. That's it. If you want to call all of them, even better, but at least call yours. And if you live in a district where they didn't vote for it, then call one of the others and thank them. Call Brewer and encourage him. Let him know that it's not in vain. But you've got to do something, Nebraska. You got to do the right thing. Otherwise, nothing happens, and this session really does get burnt to the ground. Michaela Cavanaugh wins, and I'll be damned if I let that woman win. I can't stand that. I'm not willing to see that happen, and I will not go down without at least giving it my best effort to make that change. So there we go. There's my soapbox moment. Nebraska, stop being present, not voting. Okay, you guys, I know some of you watched a little bit of the debate. Pat, you said you watched or listened to a lot of it, and Defense Dad, I know you heard some of it too. And Travis, did you get a chance to listen to any of it?
I catch it in the Unicam updates when I get them. I read.
Okay.
I've actually got my new ones just sitting on the table over there right now that I just got. So I do catch up that way because it does. I'm subscribed to the channel on YouTube also, so I catch them when they're on. So yeah, no, yeah. So I do get a chance to hear what they say and how they argue for, and then how things ended at the very end.
Okay.
So
Pat,
Yeah.
and I'll let you guys kind of chime in. Pat, we'll start with you. What were some of the things that you heard? Because I know you got to hear more of it than I did. That you liked, that you hated, and then as Pat's talking, I'm just going to cycle through some of these comments that Jolene's out there on the Facebook side making here. So,
Well, one of the best things that I heard was when Senator Brewer told everybody at the beginning, don't engage during the filibuster, but he came back and said, yes, we just need to go ahead and engage in these filibusters, especially this last go around. And a lot of his backing got up and just kept countering all of the stuff that everybody on the left was saying. Now, don't get it twisted, people. It is left versus right here when it comes to this bill. I mean, it is.
very much so.
It's just, it is what it is. I know it says unicameral. It might as well be a bicameral, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, he had a lot of engagement, and there was a lot of good back and forth. And I know his buttons were being pressed, and there were some good questions back and forth, especially on a couple from some of the people from Lincoln saying, well, does it actually change this gun law? Where is it still illegal to carry a gun? And he said, yes. He says, none of those laws change. He says, the only thing that changes, and he had to say this several times, and I would have thought he would have said it enough by now, especially from the beginning to where we're at right now, that all it does is you do not have to pay for a permit and all this other stuff to have your right.
Now,
And
I
that's
do
basically
remember
what he
hearing-
boiled it down to.
I remember hearing some of that, and I think is it Dungan who actually is a Lincoln senator?
Yeah.
Because it was mostly Dungan and John Kavanaugh who were the guys that were speaking the most in opposition. Kavanaugh, I know, is an Omaha senator, so I think it was Dungan, and he was saying, like currently, Pinnacle Bank Arena there in Lincoln, partly owned by the city, bans weapons. But if the bill strips the ability of a city to regulate weapons, then does Lincoln lose its ability to regulate if weapons can be on city property? Because they also have an ordinance, no weapons in city buildings, which PBA is one of them. So I'm not gonna side with that idiot, but he's a lawyer. And if he's looked through the bill, and if there's a loophole that, there's what do I want to say, a loose end, maybe that's not tied up, not a loophole, but if that's a loose end, then maybe it does need to be addressed. But you know what we end up getting all the time is bills on the the other direction that are passed, and then they have to be challenged in court before they can be dealt with, right? So I say pass the sucker, and if that ends up being a loose end or a loophole, you know what? Then take it to court or propose a different bill next time. But let's take back some of the initiative here, right? Let's take some of the ground back that we've lost.
Well, I didn't hear.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a lot of it yesterday. I usually listen to most of it, but the last go around that was brought up as well. And Brewer, I remember him saying, "Well, no, because it's only partly owned. The venue still has the right to say whether firearms are allowed or not.
And it's still private property, right? And no private property owner loses their rights under this bill.
And for those people who don't know, if you're a business owner's private property, you post those no gun laws. That holds the weight of law in Nebraska.
Yep, you can't ignore the signs here.
Exactly, and that's, I don't know. He probably had to point that out at least 3 times. Is as long as he said, it's just like any other place in the state of Nebraska. If it has it posted on the front of the building, then you can't conceal, carry, or carry firearms into the building. And he said, as far as any of the other laws goes, he says they can't. It doesn't change.
Do you remember anything specifically that you heard that you really liked? Whether, if you can remember the senator, great, but at least the specific things that were said in support of the bill that were really good. Because I heard a couple. I also heard a lot of stuff that didn't really pertain on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. One of the good ones, and I think it was Dungan, if I remember right. His wife, and a friend of hers was going to make a deposit for the
Low.
it was Low.
Dungan,
It was Low.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been him. It was Senator John Low.
It was Low. Her and a friend were walking downtown Lincoln to make a deposit into a bank for I can't remember the name of the specific club or whatever group she was associated with. Broad daylight, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were returning from the bank, and she was assaulted by a homeless man, and knocked unconscious. And but in Lincoln, you cannot conceal carry or anything like that unless you have a permit. If I'm, let me double check this. Unless you have a permit, correct? Or that you can't at all in Lincoln.
Say that again.
Conceal carry. You can't conceal carry in Lincoln, correct? Without a permit.
You have to have a permit.
Well,
okay.
You could open carry.
You can't conceal carry anywhere in Nebraska without a permit.
Right.
Well, I'm saying, sorry. Too many things running through my head. But anyway, he said, I wish she would have, he didn't put it in so many words, but I'm just spitting this out, that he wished she would have had a different means to defend herself, or her friend would have not had to have had a permit to carry a gun, or some kind of.
I think what he was getting at, because they saw this guy and he was kind of crossing the street away from him. He circled around behind him. He hit her in the back of the head and knocked Mrs. Lowe out. And the friend did not have a concealed handgun permit and wasn't armed.
Exactly.
Now, had it been the other way around, had the friend been the one who got knocked out first, and Mrs. Lowe had been conscious, that could have turned out completely differently, because she could have defended herself and her friend, because she was, I believe, armed and legally concealed carrying. The thing that I didn't like about that, and a few of the other anecdotes that I heard from the supporters yesterday, were, yeah, that's great. You've told us reasons to have a concealed handgun permit, but none of that matters. Do you have any instances where not being able to get the permit, I shouldn't say this, not being prohibited, but just not having the permit, not having the means to get the permit was dangerous or cost somebody, injury or robbery or whatever? That's the kind of stuff that we really need in these debates, is not being able to do permitless carry hurt this person, right? Not that I want anybody to be dead because of it, but Forbid that should happen, but that would be an example, right? So yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was discussed on both sides, and I know people were trying to help and they meant well, but it really went down
Yeah.
other rabbit holes, I guess, is what I would
Well,
say, kind of like this show does sometimes. Um,
this, this debate had gone on so long. What did he say at the end of it? It had gone on 40 hours plus of
Overall, yeah,
debate.
I think so.
Yeah, overall on this. So I think honestly, people were running out of things to say, and they were just
Well,
trying to throw something in that might
and
help or disregard the other side. It was
I
kind of a
think that
cluster there at the end.
I think Brewer was the one that said this. I know somebody said it, and I think it was Brewer. That somebody got up there on the mic and said, honestly, it doesn't matter what we say here today because everybody in this room has already made their mind up. And none of the stuff that we're going to talk about is going to change anybody's mind, which is the case in every one of these debates. It wasn't Brewer. I don't remember who it was, but he was talking about, but people always say, for the record, and I don't know what that means exactly, but for the record, they want stuff to be on the record. So I guess, I want to go on the
I
record
think
too
that
and
was
say that
low.
I support the
I
bill.
think that was low.
I don't remember who it was, but it was kind of funny, I thought. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just here's the thing is it comes down to a couple different points, and I have yet to hear this point made very well. Somebody did bring this up yesterday. It could have been Slama. I don't remember who it was. Um, I'm trying to remember if it was even a male or female voice that I heard. I was listening to it a little bit as I was getting stuff ready for supper last night too, and couldn't keep my eyes on the screen the whole time. But um, somebody did bring up prior restraint, and that um, we don't put prior restraint on any of the other uh, rights listed in our Bill of Rights. Those are things that you don't touch. You don't have to have a permit to exercise. You don't take away somebody's First Amendment rights without prior restraint. You don't take away somebody's life or their liberty or their property. Um, you don't place any prior restraint on those things. You don't take those away without just cause, right? After due process. Nobody loses their rights until due process has been uh, seen through. And we want to put prior restraint on the rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment. Um, and that's not, number one, it's not right. Number two, the Bruin decision specifically said in no uncertain terms that you can't do that anymore. And that for far too long, what do they call it? The means end process has been used to judge whether laws were constitutional or not, and that cannot stand. You cannot go by whether or not the end would justify the means. If we go down that road, and they didn't say this in the Supreme Court decision, but here's why: if you go down that road, then we can bring back stop and frisk. We'd be a lot safer, right? If police could just pull over anybody at any time and shake them down, go through their car, see what's in there without a warrant or without probable cause, which is what the Fourth Amendment guarantees right now, which I didn't have to get a permit or take a class or get a background check to exercise my Fourth Amendment rights. I just have that right. And it's on the police officer to know that if I were to get pulled over, that what they can and cannot do. And it's the same thing with everything else. They can't lock me up in jail and not give me a fair and speedy trial. Doesn't matter if I'm aware of that right or not. I still have that right. I don't have to be aware of it in order to be granted that right. We can take away a lot of these rights if the means were justified by the end. If public safety was the ultimate goal, then we'd be in a police state. The Gestapo would be on every corner making sure that nobody's breaking any laws, and Big Brother would be watching you at all the time. The see something, say something would be in place. And if there's anybody that thinks there's anything that you're doing anything wrong, they report you, and the police just come into your house and check it out and see if you really are doing anything. And they trample all over all of those rights that the Constitution says that we get, and they can't be touched. Now, in order to keep people safe, to find terrorist cells, to find you know, active shooters that have a plan and a manifesto on their computer and all that, you know, if they could invade that privacy, if you didn't have a right to privacy, then we could find these people a lot faster, don't you think? We could keep everybody safe. But at what cost? We'd have zero freedom. And that doesn't work. You cannot place a means end justification on a right that's guaranteed in the Constitution. It doesn't matter if it would be justifiable or not. It doesn't matter if taking all the guns away would keep people safer or not. The Constitution says no touchy, and therefore it doesn't matter. No touchy. The same with all the other rights. And I have yet to hear that explained on the floor. I have yet to hear any senator defend this bill, support this bill, talk about the Bruin decision, and how Justice Thomas, in his opinion, said that you cannot use a means end. What did he say? What is it called? A means end scrutiny, I guess. The two-part scrutiny. You have to go back to the text, history, and tradition. And if this was not something that was, you know, the way in 1791, then it can't be the way in 2023. Nobody's brought that up. Nobody's brought up that how the courts are supposed to treat cases. Well, if the courts are supposed to treat cases that way, wouldn't it behoove the legislative bodies to also treat potential laws in the same way, right? Wouldn't you think? So and that's just me, but as you're contacting your senators, especially if your senators are supporters of the bill, bring that up. Have them read through NYSRPA v. Bruin and see if they can bring some of that out of there. Have them look up my testimony in the Judiciary Committee hearing, because I brought that up in mine, that you can't use the means end scrutiny anymore, that you've got to go off the text, history, and tradition. And the Constitution was not written, neither the federal one or the one for our state. Those were not written to keep the people safe. Okay, the only safety the government should provide is safety from foreign invasion. After that, the government needs to get the hell out of our lives. It's not their job to keep us safe. They're not our dad. They're not our mommy. It's their job to keep us free. They should guarantee our freedom. They can't guarantee our safety. That's an illusion. But they can guarantee our freedom. They can tell us that if you're not hurting anybody else, that you're fine to do your thing. So that's my point, is even the Supreme Court has ruled that you cannot take away rights, you cannot take away freedoms just because you think it's a good idea and you think that there may be, you know, safety at the end of that thread. You can't pull that thread. It doesn't work. So here I am back on my soapbox again. What else happened in the debate? Anybody out there? Jeff, I know you're out there watching. Is there anything else that was brought up that we haven't discussed that really needs to be brought up? I suppose we could get into some of the fear mongering that Raybold was doing with her statistics, but if I do that, I'm gonna turn into ugly me that I don't want to see. Not physically, that doesn't get any uglier, but I'm going to get grumpy. I'm going to get stressed, and I'm going to show you guys a side of me that I don't want shown. So we may back off of those, because I get kind of worked up. Ask Sandhill Sweetheart, ask how much I was yelling at Raybold through my iPad screen last night as we were cleaning up supper dishes.
I was doing about the same thing in the cab of a tractor.
I may have called people a few names that I can't repeat without violating my own rules for the language here.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked earlier if a certain someone could see certain comments, because I was going to try to keep it civil.
No, but maybe soon. So just keep it civil.
Okay, because I just wrote down what my brother in another bunker, my brother from another bunker,
same mother,
same mother, just a brother from another bunker. But
Bad
anyway,
mother bunker.
yep, brother bunker. Anyway, I will say this: it's hard to stand up for anything if you don't get off the couch. Pat in the bunker. You can quote that from now on.
That's a T-shirt right there. We need to make that a shirt.
Yep.
It's hard to stand up for anything if you don't get off the couch. And if you do stand up for something without getting off the couch, then your wife just comes along and yells at you for standing on the couch.
And across the back, it needs to say, "Put the Pringles down and make a difference."
That's right. No more present not voting.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. That's a good T-shirt too.
Put the Cheetos down.
That's right.
Yeah, put the Cheetos down and vote.
That's right. There's time for Doritos later.
That's right.
Permitless carry must happen now.
First permitless carry, then Doritos.
John, it seems like we kind of need like a simple points about permitless carry poster that we need to have up on the Unicam the whole time. So if anybody wonders about the specifics of what it does and what it doesn't do, they can glance up and see
but they can't have props.
Like top 10 points that they need to think about, like what it does and what it doesn't do. So we don't have to clarify it every single time,
It'd be great, but they can't have props. So no posters, no signs.
It's not a prop. That's an informative. That's a learning assistive device. So
they can't even turn around and like hold up a letter.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that would be considered a prop. So
Nebraska, you can have fun, just not too much.
Just not too much fun.
There you go. That's the other. It's not for every. That's the other side of the. It's not for everyone. Phrase for the tourist board. So Nebraska, you can.
We should put that one up. If this bill doesn't pass this year, we'll make a shirt.
That's a bumper sticker I'm going to sell.
Instead of "you can have fun but not too much," you can have freedom but not too much.
Just not too much. That's right. I mean, I just getting tired of looking at this map of North America. And there's this big spot in the middle where Nebraska is, where there's no permitless carry. I mean, I could ride my horse from the border of Canada down to the border of Mexico, with my gun concealed. But as soon as I run into Nebraska, if I don't have that permit, oh, geez.
Well, that's not entirely true yet. You can't do it in North Dakota either.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was.
But they do have a bill this year that would make that for non-residents as well. Right now, it's
it's resident, non-resident. So yeah.
I'll go.
But I don't ever actually see anybody up in North Dakota, so I don't think it matters. So I've never actually seen another human being up there.
From North Dakota, I've never. I take that back. I've been.
You showed me the border of North Dakota. There was nobody on the other side, John. It was all rolling hills. It was.
Well, that was South Dakota.
Oh, was that South? Oh, that's right. My geography's off.
Yeah,
right.
you were close to South Dakota.
South Dakota, North Dakota, Winnipeg, Manitoba. It all looks exactly the same, so it doesn't matter. There's no difference. Once you go north, nothing changes. So
pretty much true. From I-90,
it just flattens out once you get up to North Dakota.
To Winnipeg, I don't think the scenery changes.
No, it doesn't. It's just that you have to slow down when you get over the Canadian border, and everything's got some weird numbers that they use for speed I don't understand. So something called metric system based off some arbitrary system of measurement. I don't get it. I've never understood it.
I'm just going to go on record. I'm tired of these idiots. Especially with Kavanaugh. I'm sorry, she's an idiot.
Why did you apologize for that? I'm sorry, she's an idiot.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for her family.
Michaela, I'm sorry you're an idiot. Yeah. I'm even sorrier that you're a senator.
I'm so tired of them going off against permitless carry and everything else. Like, but they don't even realize. Well, maybe they do realize, but I don't think they do. Like with the exception of Omaha. The only difference between concealed carry and what we can do now, I can walk, except for Omaha, I can go around anywhere that's legal to carry a gun. I can carry open carry. The only difference is if we have permitless carry, I could put a code on. Because I don't have, I have to have a purchase permit to carry a handgun openly, but I don't have to have a carry permit for it, right?
You don't have to have a purchase permit to carry a handgun openly, as long as it's a legally possessed handgun.
No, you have to. Well, okay, you have to have it to purchase one.
But you don't have to have bought it. Let's say, Defense Dad, you've got a kid that's old enough to purchase a handgun in Nebraska. So, and a transfer is not required to gift from son to father. So, if it was a Christmas present, birthday present from your kid, then you don't need the purchase certificate.
Lincoln requires a purchase permit.
Well, that's your own fault for living in Lincoln.
But I'm just saying, like, it's really and truly, that's the only damn difference. It's The only difference is I can carry a smaller gun and it make you feel better, or not you, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Go on.
Where I could carry a 1911, or I could carry whatever the hell I want to, as long as it's legal in an open carry holster. But right now, as soon as I throw a freaking coat on, if I don't have that concealed handgun permit, then I'm breaking the law. And that's the only difference. These idiots don't get that, or don't want to admit that they get that.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and this one gets thrown out a lot. That people that are against the bill think that even on the NFOA webpage, there's some stuff going on where there's quote unquote pro-gun people that have their concealed handgun permit that don't think that you should be able to carry without training. Okay, now, do I think that you should carry without training? No, absolutely not. That's stupid. If you're going to exercise your right, then you owe society the responsibility that's attached to that right. Okay, we're talking about something in public here. So, no, you owe society to get the training to operate that thing safely and responsibly. Okay, you owe people that, but you shouldn't be required by the state for that. Now, I said all that to say this. Anybody who's been through the concealed handgun permit class, which I just taught one this weekend, I know what's in the class. I know what's required of the training. I know that some people go a little above and beyond and teach extra stuff, but that's, we started at 9:00. We didn't get done until a little after 5, and typically they go even longer with the classes, but we had some extra stuff that we didn't do. That's not, well, I'll tell you what it was. When I do a class here in Norfolk, I've got a USCCA rep who comes in, and it's about an hour long for them to talk about the benefits of being members. And I couldn't get anybody from Omaha to drive all the way out to Ainsworth for a class this weekend. So I get it. Yeah. So that saved us an hour. Normally it's after 6 before I'm telling people that, hey, you're free to go now. And that's without the shooting. So we're looking at 6 hours, about 8 hours in the classroom. And then everybody's going to spend another hour on the range. I know what's in the class. And anybody who thinks that class is adequate training to go about your concealed carry lifestyle has never taken that class. They don't know what's in it. You three have all been through it on the panel, and a lot of you out there in the comments. Show of hands out in the comments or here on the panel. Do any of you think that class adequately prepared you for your concealed carry lifestyle?
No.
Absolutely not. It's the bare minimum. It's the broad strokes, but you don't learn everything you need to know. In fact, I thought about that this weekend, and I've decided that that's another class that I'm going to start offering, is a concealed carry class, not the CHP class that's required to get the certificate to go get your permit, an actual concealed carry class where people can come and ask questions about holsters, holster positions, holster designs, the best carry gun, ammo questions, things like that. And I will give the best answers to my knowledge, although ammo is a pretty easy one. If it runs in your gun and it's expanding ammo, so no ball ammo, no FMJs, and if your gun runs it well and you can accurately shoot it, then carry it and you can afford it. I don't care what you're carrying, whether it's gold dots or Hydra shocks or what have I got, Federal Punch and some Hornady American Gunner, whatever it is. I don't care what you put in your gun as long as it's good stuff and it functions, right? I don't care what gun you carry as long as you can shoot it well. If you are looking for something different or you're looking to buy your first gun, I'll give you some advice for that too. Up to a point. I mean, I can only go so far. You have to find out what fits you better, and you have to shoot some stuff. So, yeah, DJ's got it right. I mean, it isn't supposed to be a complete course. Justin Gibbons says he does not think it was a great so-called prerequisite. No, it's not. So roll call says, wrong one. Roll call says he doesn't agree. He owes society and has to take. No, I don't think that you have to take a training class, Ro. That's not what I said. What I said is you owe society to be responsible and know how to run that gun safely and responsibly. That's what you owe society. No, training class is not part of it. Although anybody that wants to take them, again, I teach them. My company sponsors the show now, so I try to get that advertising out there.
Well, the
Yeah,
one thing
totally.
I'll
Great question.
say, sorry, go.
How many who get concealed carry permit actually carry? I don't even know what the numbers are because that's their own business. There's no way to track that. I do know that I've talked to a state patrol officer or state patrolman who said, state trooper, I guess I should say here, who said it's surprising how many people get pulled over and they have the permit, so they know they have a duty to inform, and they tell him that yes, they have their permit, but no, they're not carrying that day. He said it's surprising how often that happens. It's a lot. And then he always gets on them, why the hell not? I might need you to back me up one day. So I mean, he's all for people carrying.
I'm going to go kind of in between what you said and what roll call said. I don't necessarily know that we believe that we owe it to society. It shouldn't be required. But I think you do owe yourself at the very least to, whether you take a class or somehow learn how to draw the thing from the holster without shooting yourself. Like learn how to do it safely.
Oh,
there's classes you can do, but I don't think you owe it to anybody other than yourself.
I think you do. I think if you're going to exercise your rights in public where it can affect other people, I think you owe it to society. Same way with your First Amendment rights. And I don't care who gets butthurt when I say that, but if you're going to misuse your words, that's on you, right? But if you owe it to society to learn the right way to use your words so that you're not causing problems for other people, right? It's not enough just to say that, well, if I go out there and I start slandering Travis and yeah, I have to be responsible for that. He can sue me for slander, right? So that's
How
on me,
dare
and
you.
I need to be responsible for my actions. But at the same time, I owe it to society. I owe it to Travis in particular to be responsible with my words, because if I'm saying stuff, it's not only me that gets affected if he sues me for slander. I could damage him and his reputation with my words if I don't use them responsibly. So, and that to me is the same as people that don't know how to run their gun or don't know how to shoot very well, accurately enough to at least engage a threat and put their shots, in a threat at a reasonable distance. I'm not talking about, an active shooter. That's the same as if I intend to go hurt Travis with my words. If I intend to cause damage with my words, that's like a murderer going out with a gun intending to shoot somebody. So that's a whole different ball of wax there.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I think you owe it to yourself and your family, and by doing that, you're gonna do the things you're called. But I think you owe it to yourself and your family first.
I do. I absolutely agree. Your responsibility starts with you. Then
I don't owe society
it goes to
anything.
your home. Your responsibility is in your home. Absolutely. And then if you're going to take your gun into public, I say that you owe society to be responsible. I am not saying that there's a requirement that you should prove that you're responsible. I will not allow, I won't allow, yeah, it's not up to me. I will not agree to any sort of prior restraint. I'm just saying that if we're going to police our own, right? If we're going to prove that we don't need these laws to tell us what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, then we have to prove that we're responsible enough to handle our freedoms. Do we not? That's just life. You don't get freedoms if you can't prove that you're responsible enough to handle them. If you're raising smaller humans, you understand that too. It's part of raising a human, and I've never done it, and I know that part, that if they prove themselves to be responsible, they get more freedoms. And if they can't be responsible with those freedoms, they get them taken away, or they should get them taken away until they can be responsible again, right? That's what you ground somebody from going out. You ground somebody from their phone. You ground them from TV, whatever it is, right? When you can be more responsible, we'll give you your freedoms back. But that only works for so long. Then they're an adult. They're out in the world. There's nobody to be their mom or their dad at that point, usually, and police that. So by then they should know how to be responsible. But that's with every right that we have. Every right comes with at least some measure of responsibility attached to it. And you owe it to the rest of us to not screw that up. Because if you screw that up, it might be the rest of us that get affected because you were not responsible enough, not smart enough, not whatever enough to be able to handle the freedom that you were given. And I'll go to my grave, I believe, feeling the same way. You all are welcome to not agree with me, I encourage that, but I'm not going to make any apologies for the way that I feel. If you're going to exercise your rights, you need to do it responsibly. And if you're going to exercise your rights in public where it affects other people, then absolutely you owe society that responsibility. But no, there shouldn't be a law that requires it. There shouldn't be a law that requires any such thing for a right that's guaranteed in the Constitution, for sure. Okay, so now we got some comments going out there.
Just to add real quick, John, I had taken a few shortly after I got my permit. I had taken a defensive 1 and defensive 2, level 1, level 2 handgun training courses, and I really enjoyed them. I felt a lot more confident with my firearm after I took them. You know, we didn't really cover the laws. It was more about the handling, the shooting, just getting you, you know, much more comfortable with your firearm and or firearms. If you wanted to bring a couple, you could. I just felt a lot more confident with it. Yeah. My accuracy improved. I learned a little bit better handling and stance, and had a chance to maneuver around objects and items. And I just felt like I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot more capable and more confident than it was just after taking the concealed carry class. And it was fun, and I enjoyed it. It was fun, and it was luckily for me, it was before ammo prices went nuts, and we used a lot of ammo with those 2 courses, so it didn't cost me too much money. It was like $50 for each class, so they were 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
I've learned a lot more out of other classes that I took prior to my concealed handgun class. I found a good source of information here locally, and was able to attend classes. But those are more fun. They teach you much more about firearm handling, and I did that of my own free will. The only reason I took the concealed handgun permit is because I had to be able to carry it. I mean, that's all. It will carry it concealed. But I think the one thing I do think happens when people, again, I hate that it's required, and I hope that doesn't happen. But when people do take that, I think they learn what they don't know, and it's kind of a gateway drug to taking more classes.
Yeah, I think that's what.
And classes shouldn't be required, but if you get that itch, they're fun, and people are like, well, there's cost involved or anything else.
They should very much be encouraged, just not required by law.
Yeah. And they become kind of something fun to do. Like some people will go spend $100 a night at the bar on a pool league. Yeah. I'll go spend $100 on a class and spend the whole day doing it.
Lottery tickets, you know.
But I see that a lot, actually, where people don't know what they don't know until they take a class, and not just a CHP class, but if they take, you know, a further class like what'd you say, defensive pistol 1 and 2, Travis, that you said you took? So
yeah, it was defensive handgun
when
level
you take
1, level
something
2.
like that, then all of a sudden you realize, right? You get slapped in the face with, gosh, I didn't know what I didn't know. So if that's out here, what else is out there that I don't know that I need to learn, right? And some people will get that bug, and yeah, Defense Dad, I think you're one of them for sure. That got bit by that bug of, now I want to know, now I want to learn, right? I want to get better at my craft. I want to get better for my own safety, you know, your daughter's safety, your responsibility to keep her safe when she's in your care. Just in general, right? Just for the knowledge of it, just for the skills of it, right? For self-improvement. I mean, there's so many reasons why it's great to do, and they're all great reasons. Doesn't matter what the reason is. Absolutely. And as a trainer, that's what I want to see happen in my neck of the woods, is people get the training bug and get the word out that, hey, training is actually a good thing. It's worth spending the money on. And it turns out I don't know everything there is to know, and I didn't even know what I didn't know until somebody had to teach me this stuff. I'm the same way. I'm signed up for more training classes again this year too, because the best teachers never stop learning, and I want to learn everything I can so I can be more efficient both on the range as an instructor and as the shooter. So that's one of my reasons for taking further classes, along with my lifelong thirst for knowledge. I know a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. Now it's time in my life to start learning a lot of stuff that does matter, I guess. I do want to get to a few of these comments though, but I'm absolutely against requiring the training. No, absolutely not. But absolutely, I think that people should do it. Now, having said that, I want to throw up a comment. And Roll Call, I'm not trying to start a fight. You just got some good comments that that I want to throw up on the screen here. So society then owes everyone. Yeah, hell yeah, they do. Now, do they take advantage of it? Do they recognize that? Do they actually act upon that? Absolutely not. You're right there again. The majority of society doesn't care about one another. Now, but they should, right? We can say that you shouldn't exercise your rights without acknowledging and showing the responsibility that's attached to it. I can say that. I can also say that you shouldn't sleep around and have unprotected sex with a bunch of partners that you barely know. I can tell you that you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. I can tell you that you shouldn't snort crack. Do you snort crack? I don't know how you do have. I'm not a drug expert. If that's not
I
how
think
you
it might
do
be
it,
smoked. No, I've never done
snort
it,
it,
but I'm just
smoke it,
saying. But I'm just from
stick
the
it in a
movies I
hoagie
saw as a
sandwich.
kid.
I don't know, but whatever. You shouldn't do crack. Okay. But that, I guess we do have a law against doing crack. There's not a law that says you can't have consensual sex with as many partners as you want. Now, I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm going to say that I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to say that you shouldn't do that. Doesn't mean I think there should be a law against it. I think that people should just be responsible to their bodies, their future spouses, their future children, whatever. But that doesn't mean that, I feel like I should control everybody and make them do what I want to do and make them not do what I don't want them to do. That it's your life, do what you want. Here's what I think is best. And if you're not responsible to listen to me, or whatever, how do I say that? If you're not beholden to me, then it doesn't matter what I have to say, right? So anybody that's getting butthurt by what I have to say, if what I say doesn't really affect your life, then laugh it off, shrug it off, whatever. Justin said, maybe I should tell that to the gang members who shoot up the neighborhoods. Yes, I would love it if the gang members would be more responsible. Everybody in those neighborhoods would love it if those gang members would be more responsible. Yes, the fact is that people aren't responsible. That's the whole point. I'm telling you that you should be. I'm telling you that those gang members owe it to society to knock their shit off and stop doing what they're doing. It ain't going to happen, but they do owe society, which is why society has laws that say that if you're going to shoot each other up or peddle drugs or whatever it is that gang members do, then if you get caught doing it, after due process, you lose freedoms. You lose potentially your life, depending on what you've done, right? You lose property, you lose all that stuff. So absolutely, I would love it if people would actually find a way to make those gang members listen.
I'll throw something. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say one of the best online pieces of law and handguns that I've ever watched was, I believe it was 1994, Massad Ayub in that 58-minute course, that 58-minute training video that he put out. God, I wish I could remember the name of that thing. But man, that is probably one of the best on when to shoot, how to shoot, and when you can do it, because he breaks all of that stuff down really, in my opinion, the best. It's one of the best as far as laws and stuff, and when you should shoot and when you shouldn't shoot.
Yeah,
So,
that's some great stuff.
but I wish I could remember that, and I'd put a link to it right now in there.
We're having
and
another
everybody can
night
watch
where
it.
everybody's really crackly on my end, but I nobody's commented, so I know the feeds are going out good. But anyway, if I act like I can't understand you, it's not you. I think it's me. But that's okay. So no, absolutely
You
right.
want me to talk?
Mass Ayub has forgotten more about rights and responsibilities and shooting guns and being in firefights than what most of us will ever learn. Lord willing, you'll never learn as much as what he has learned the hard way. So Justin said, honestly, his class wasn't horrible. Well, I hope none of them are horrible. I hope mine's not horrible. But he's taken a ton more classes since, which without the extra experience, he just doesn't feel the the CHP class is what we call it now, is all it's built up to. No, it's at my work in our store, not company wide, but in our store, we have, some sales expectations and things like that. There's the bar where it's set. You know, you always, if the bar is here, you want to be up here. But this, where the bar is set, what we call that in our store is the bare ass minimum. You know, this is what you need to hit, bare ass minimum. After that is better, but you need to be here. Okay. This is a CHP class. The CHP class is the bare ass minimum that you need to know before you go out into public carrying your loaded firearm, concealed or otherwise, but concealed is what the class is for. So here are the places in Nebraska that it's prohibited to carry a concealed firearm. Here are the rules for getting your permit, renewing your permit. What happens if you get lost? What do you do if what do you do if you have to shoot somebody? How do you avoid shooting somebody? How do you avoid being in that situation in the first place? And then it goes on to some stuff that should be review for anybody in that class. This is the different types of handgun actions. There's single action, there's double action, there's hammer fired, there's striker fired autos. There's cartridges. Some have a rim, some don't. We have to go through all that. It's part of the class. Look, we could just point at Pat's bunker. Here's all the different actions of every firearm ever known to man. Pat's got one of them. He's like Dragon Man, only not in Colorado.
Pat's got him. Travis has cleaned him. Defense Dad shot him.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but honestly, I mean, no, the class is not designed to teach you everything you need to know. It's designed to get you enough knowledge to pass the test, and then you go out and prove that you can shoot the gun well enough to hit 21 out of 30 shots, and away you go. Here's your certificate. Try not to hurt anybody, right? I mean, there's nothing to it. You don't learn squat. What scares me is when people do learn in my class. Now, if what you didn't know is about the use of force continuum, okay, great, because I get a ton of people that think they can use deadly force to protect property. That's illegal in Nebraska. You can use force, just not deadly force to protect property. So that's an eye opener. No loaded firearms on a snowmobile, whether they're handguns or not, but you can't conceal carry on a snowmobile.
But on a four-wheeler, it's fine.
Four-wheelers are fine. Side-by-sides are fine. Two-wheelers, three, it doesn't matter. If it's not belt-driven, no, I shouldn't say belt-driven. If it's not belt-propelled.
So is there a loophole if you put tracks on your four-wheeler?
Still not a snowmobile. Still not a snowmobile.
It's still a four-wheeler.
No, you'd have to put wheels on your snowmobile, and then maybe.
If it came stock out of the factory as a snowmobile, then they would probably still consider that a snowmobile.
So there is
guessing.
Right. What I'm saying is there is some stuff that is an eye opener that people learn in my CHP classes, but it's all got to do with the use of force, the aftermath of it, when you can and can't, stuff like that, right? Everything else should be pretty much review as far as the gun, the ammo, that kind of stuff. But we have to cover it all because the state doesn't want to take the chance that there's somebody that rolled in there that's never touched a gun before. I say this all the time. If you roll into the concealed carry class and you don't know how to shoot your gun, that's kind of like going to the courthouse to get your driver's license and you've never driven the car yet. A car. You don't know how to drive a car. Probably not going to be the best. You're probably not going to pass. It's probably going to be a waste of your time and your money. So, but you're welcome to pay me the money. I don't care. You can come back later and take the class again. I'll teach it again. I don't mind. I'm just saying that I don't think you should have to do that either. That's not good business sense. Let's see what else. I know I missed some stuff. King of Sanity. I don't know who that is. I don't think I've seen that name before, but apparently King of Sanity has the right to put polar pops on his nipples. Good for you. Just because you have the right doesn't mean you should. It's not illegal. You do you, boo-boo. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. You just have a responsibility to yourself, I guess, and your nipples not to get freezer burn. Okay, so
yeah.
What else am I missing out here in the comments? Did Nebraska get a win? Yes, you can go back and catch the beginning of the show, Knives. We got another first down. Okay, so in our system, there's we need to get 2 first downs before we can hit the goal line. It's kind of like what is it? Overtime in collegiate football, right? You get that ball on the 25 or something like that. So you need 2 first downs, and then it's first and goal. So now we're through that second first down, and we're at first and goal. So that's where we are right now. We need to get through one more debate, but it did get passed through round 2 last night and sent on to the final round. So we did get a win, just not the win, right? So it's a minor victory. It's a first down, but not the big win that we want yet. Although I'll call this a win. I know I was kind of saying not the best stuff about Guns and Gadgets last week, because there may have been a perceived snub on my end. But anyway, I will say this. He dropped a video today with just a permitless carry update across the country. And even he acknowledged that the state most likely to become number 26 wasn't who he thought it was going to be when all the horses came out of the gate. But he did name Nebraska as probably the most likely to get it done the soonest, because now we've only got one more debate, and then it goes to the governor's desk if it passes that. But again, we just need to keep our foot on the gas. So
I just want to respond to G-Webs. He's just really close to the camera. He's a normal sized cat.
I missed some comment. Oh,
you said the cat's bigger than the dog.
There it is. I found it. Yeah, Blitz over in occupied Illinois says for your permit, it's a 16-hour class. They at least knew how to use their firearm by the end to a basic extent. Now, I wish that as an instructor, I wish there was a way to require that to be part of the class if you're going to take it. But again, I don't believe that it should be 16 hours of class. And we don't have an 8-hour requirement. It's just that that's how long it takes to get through it all if you're going to cover it right. Okay. If you're just going to click the slides up and not say anything, not expound, not ask questions of your class, then maybe you could shave an hour off of that. It's just going to take a while to get through it all, especially if you want to do your class any kind of justice. So we don't have a time frame. They just say that you have to cover all this stuff. Yeah, I do know that Illinois is not the only state that has a minimum hour requirement to sit through a class to get this. Of course, we all know that Illinois is going to be one of the last states to get drug kicking and screaming into permitless carry, and the only way that they'll do it is if there's a federal law requiring it. So I guess we'll have to go from there. Blitz says also the first concealed class he went to had 2 people with their first brand new gun in the box. Also, they had never shot a gun before. That was eye-opening to the importance of even basic classes. Yeah, I love it when I get to actually work with somebody who's never shot a gun. Those are my favorite students. They're so teachable because they don't already know anything. They don't have any bad habits built up that we have to work harder to overcome to build the good habits. And I'll say this too, and this is not meant to be sexist in any way, shape, or form. It's just a fact. I would rather teach women than men because women are more teachable than men when it comes to things like this. And so far, none of my students seem to have even resented the fact that I'm a man and I'm not a woman. But they are so teachable because, again, there's no machismo there. They are there to learn. They're not afraid to admit they don't know stuff. And so they're so much better as students. Having said that, most of the men that have come to me for similar training have been super teachable too, because they have been able to admit, they're not too proud to admit that they don't know stuff. So if there's stuff that you don't know, as a potential student out there, just rule of thumb, don't be afraid to tell your instructor that you don't know stuff. Number one, they don't expect you to know everything. That's why they're the teacher and you're not. Number two, if they know exactly where you stand, exactly where you're starting from, then they know better how to get you where you're going. And I know that's true in firearms, Travis. Does that translate into all teaching kind of universally? If somebody comes into your classroom and doesn't, they tell you, Mr. P11, I don't know this and I'm struggling with this. Wouldn't you much rather have that than somebody that pretends like they know it and then come test time?
Because whenever you ask a group of people any questions, nobody wants to be that person that gets singled out. So it'd be better that I get excited, when they want help on something, that they ask a question and you feel like, hey, Yeah, it's going to be the same way across the board. Yep.
Yeah, and I know that excitement. I love it when people will actually ask questions, and I say the same thing that my teachers in school, in high school, used to tell me all the time. I now say it in my own classrooms, and I preface it with, "I know this is cliche. You've heard this 1,000 times since you were a kid in school, but don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask a question, because if you have that question, chances are there's 2 or 3 others in the room that are too timid to put their hand up, but they still don't know either, and they want to know the answer. So be the brave one and put your hand up." It's exactly what I tell people. My high school teachers used to say the same thing, and I'd roll my eyes. So
I will say in my class there was I'm not gonna say elderly, but probably mid to late 60s gal. She was there. She was a recent widow. She'd never shot before. She brought her husband's 2-inch snubby 44 Magnum.
Oh no.
And they did encourage her to learn with a different. They let her shoot it, and the class did help her to realize she might want to get something else.
That's good. Yes, I also try to always have a few guns with me at the range that we can switch to if we absolutely need to. I've even had people that brought 22s, but for whatever reason, their Walther P22 was not wanting to. One of them was, after the second failure to extract within 2 magazines, I said, you know what? This portion, where we are right now in your journey, I'm not really going to mess you up by switching you over to my 22. So we pulled out the Glock 44, which is a 22, as opposed to the Glock 22, which is a 40. Anyway, the Glock numbers are fun, but the 22 long rifle Glock pistol, I have one of those on the range, and everybody that I've ever put that thing into their hands has shot it extremely well, to the point where they wanted to know what model it was so they could go get themselves one. But anyway, yeah, I'm the same way. If you want to shoot your whatever you brought, cool. But if you're struggling with it, we're gonna back down and learn the fundamentals on something that's not so punishing, isn't so scary, because a lot of people, they develop that flinch because they started too big too soon, and then work your way back around to that snub nose 44. That's got to be a beast.
Well, I might be a wuss,
Wow.
but I even, you do 100
No.
rounds in that class, and I don't want to shoot a stubby.
That was the
100
most
times.
painful. You have all the range tests I've ever done. That was the most painful gun I've ever shot in my life, was a 44 mag snub nose. And I was just shooting basic ball ammo through it. Every time you pull the trigger, you can say whatever you want. It literally feels like you were slapping your hand on a table as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it feels like. I'm not kidding, guys. Full size 44 mag, okay, not bad. 454 Cthulhu, fine. 357 mag, not a problem. But 44 snubby is just I don't know.
And it was a
Maybe I
beautiful gun, stainless, wood grips, real pretty.
I mean, you could bark off a couple if you had to protect yourself, but
I
I
will
would
say
never
this,
want to. It'll work, but
if you're, I don't
Woof.
want to say recoil sensitive, but if your gun hurts your hand to shoot it, look into a Hogue rubber grip or something comparable from a different brand, but Hogue is the name that everybody goes to. I put a Hogue grip on my 2-inch snubby 38, my Smith & Wesson 642, because it's a light enough gun that even that with full power plus P loads, it's a handful. It came with wood grips, and they didn't wrap around the back strap. The Hogue one does.
Nope.
And even as I'm learning that, and now I don't have tough hands. I don't turn wrenches. I don't work with my hands anymore. And so I don't have calluses. I don't have tough hands at all. Even that was a handful for me, and I'm not too proud to admit it. But I put a Hogue grip on that thing and went back to the range with it, and now it's fun to shoot. Especially when I put,
Yep.
38 wad cutters in it that are, what are they, about 745, 750 feet per second. I mean, they kind of walk out the end of the barrel, but the recoil on them is amazing.
yeah, the one I
Yeah.
shot was
Well,
a Rossi, and
actually-
it had that ribbed Taurus style grip, like you see on the old Taurus revolvers. It's kind of like a ribbed grip or whatever. It was not a molded Hogue one, so it was not. It
Yeah.
was.
A California
Uh,
one, I guess it's different, but okay. No, where to go? Here it is. Here's the comment. Do they make a 500 snubby? I know you can get that Smith & Wesson X frame in a 3-inch barrel, isn't it? I don't know if they go 2-inch, but I'm pretty sure you can get it in a 3.
I'm not sure on that.
Anybody that's
I know
not
you
running
can get
the
it
show right now, feel
shorter,
free to run some
but I can't.
Google foo and
But
find
anyway,
that
since we're
out.
talking about the
If you're recoil sensitive, shoot the softest caliber there is, the 9mm. Shooting metric is like shaking hands with mayonnaise, says the guy that likes 10mm short.
nice.
No, I do know that you can get that that 500 Smith & Wesson, the X-frame Smith, in a shorter barrel, but I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 inches. I know it's got hella big ports on it at the muzzle end to try and tame that muzzle flip a little bit. But now that I think about it, they're whatever the big frame is, what's that, 8-inch barrel, 7 or 8-inch barrel on their big one. So even the 4-inch is going to look like a snubby on that thing. Of course, the frame itself is so huge. So yeah, I don't remember anymore.
I had to look. The one they call the stubby, you're right. It's a 3-inch barrel.
3-inch barrel. Okay. And almost a whole inch of that is compensator. So I don't know if they count that in the 3 inches or not. But yeah, it's got a heck of a compensator on the front of it too. All right. So Idaho Rogers is out there. What's up? We see you. We could dog on 9mm for a while or make fun of 40 caliber if anybody wants to, but I think we're about to wrap this up. It's gone longer than I thought it would have, actually. We turned it into a training chat, which is great.
Well, I'll tell one quick story before we get out of here. That 357 behind me with the Hogue grips on it, I got 2 stories in one. It had the regular wood grips on it, and when I was running the regular 357 or the 357 plus P on it, it was literally tearing my hands apart. And I'm a mechanic, farmer rancher, and it was literally shearing skin off of my hands, and I was trying to grip it as tight as I could. Got the Hogue grip on it the week before I went and qualified for my CCW with that 357 Magnum.
Nice.
And once we got within weeks, we had, what was it, 12? It was like 12, 9, 5, 7, and 5 feet to the target that we had to shoot. And it was 3 shots.
3 feet, 9 feet, 15 feet, and 21 feet.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for, it's been too damn long. But anyway, once we got in about halfway, I'm starting to blow, and I'm running full 357 loads coming out of that thing. I'm literally blowing the paper target apart.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, apparently you must have the muzzle in the right place, and the rest of your group looked good, so we're just going to pass you with that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I had the same thing happen.
I should have brought 38s.
People that are shooting 40s. I had a guy, let's see, this weekend I had somebody shooting a 40, and their muzzle blast, when we went up close personal, did shred the target up. There was a guy shooting a 1911 commander length barrel in 45, and that one didn't tear stuff up because the muzzle blast isn't that significant on the 45. There was a guy that came through at the end of the day and qualified with a 22 Magnum, the Kel-Tec, what is it, PMR 30? It holds 30 rounds in the magazine of 22 Magnum. 22 Magnum's got a hell of a fireball that comes out too. That thing shredded the crap out. In fact, he was the only one that shredded the crap out of my backer board. It's kind of like a cardboard. It's like a pressed chipboard paper. I shouldn't say chipboard, like a fiber board, I guess they call it. But it's like super, super heavy, heavier than poster board type stuff. Anyway, he was the only one that punched through that and tore that up even. Thank goodness it was at the end of the day. So, but I have switched over for actual qualifying to try and keep the targets from getting shredded, because I let people keep them. Most of them want to take the thing home and show it off a little bit. So I do go with the cardstock weight targets from Targets Online now, which are printed right down in Omaha. And go to targetsonline.com. You can get them in paper, but you can also get them in cardstock, and they're just a few extra pennies per copy. So they're totally worth buying the cardstock, and then they really do hold up to muzzle blast a lot better. So what would normally blow the paper apart will split the paper, and a lot of them that would normally split the paper before, won't even do anything. It just leaves the hole. So it's pretty cool. So there's my shameless plug for. Let's see, who have I plugged tonight? Nothing but cakes. I don't get anything out of that. I don't get anything for plugging targets online. If you are an NFOA member, go to our website, nebraskafirearms.org, and see about getting yourself a discount code there. If you know, you know. For Targets Online, they are one of our sponsors this year. All right, so I do believe that's going to be it. We're going to wrap stuff up. So again, you guys know how this works. We'll go back around the horn and give everybody a chance for some final thoughts and shameless plugs, and we'll kind of go from there. So Defense Dad, we'll start with you this time and let you have the floor.
Yeah, I got nothing. I think it was a good show. I haven't done much with my channel in a while.
That's okay.
Oh, there are still some slots open for Thunder on the Prairie if anybody wants to come.
That's right. Go check out Thunder on the Prairie 2023. Pat is modeling the pretty shirt there. So
thanks, Pat.
You're welcome, Travis.
All right, Defense Dad, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate you. Travis, we'll move over to you for closing thoughts and shameless plugs.
Just Nebraskans, don't give up the fight, man. Keep calling those senators, even if they're not on your side. And it's one of those things where we're close, man. We just got to let people know that we do care about it. We want to see it happen, and just show your support for the NFOA, and get out there and contact your representatives. That's it, man. Let's hope we have some good news here in the next couple months. As for Thunder on the Prairie, I did post a video on my channel that was I took the live stream of it and downloaded it and re-uploaded it because it would get a better distribution than my live stream would, just because of how my live streams work. So if you go to my channel, if you're curious about Thunder on the Prairie, all the details are right there. It's a summer shooting event that's going to happen. It's going to be cool. Meat Ammo's on board for us, and Cleanse Oil, Versacari, Monstrum, Nebraska Shooters in Firth, Nebraska. Working with a lot of big companies, and they're actually working with us small channels. We're small fries here, and it's great. They want to actually give us a time of day. So that's something that's cool. And then otherwise, I'll have Caliber Corner Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on my channel, Travis B11, 8 a.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters. And that's it. And I can say that because we're all Nebraskans here. So,
Plus, it is true. It's the only time zone.
It is. It's in the middle. It's in the center, central.
Anybody who says otherwise must live in a different one.
Every great empire, it always radiated out from the center, the central, city. It's yeah,
exactly.
Anyway, so that's all I do. Those people that have to do math on the East and West Coast, I feel sorry for them sometimes. I really do. So, yeah.
Right.
Anywho.
Well, thanks for being here, Travis.
No problem, man. Yep.
Yeah. Also, go to Nebraska Shooters. If you're in Northeast Nebraska area or willing to travel here, Nebraska Shooters is hosting some classes up here close to me too on May 20th and 21st. Norm Hood will be up within 20 miles of where I live, teaching a class. He's doing the defensive pistol and urban rifle. One's on Saturday, one's on Sunday. So go to Nebraska Shooters, check that out. Look up the May 20th and 21st classes. I'm signed up. Come sign up and take the class with me. Would be cool to find out there's somebody else in the class there that signed up because I mentioned it here. That'd be awesome. I would love to have you. I don't care who you are. I would love to have you in that class with me. And then you could see that I don't really know anything. I'm not a good shot. I don't know what I'm talking about. And we'll just have a lot of fun. And we'll be safe doing it. All right, Pat, we'll move over to you and let you back clean up tonight. Any closing thoughts from you? And if you've got anything you want to plug, go ahead.
I just want to say thanks for having me on tonight. And go check out all these guys' channels tonight. Everybody's got good content. Just educate yourself. Educate yourself on whether it's your rifle or your pistol or your shotgun. Just don't stop learning. There's always something new to learn, whether it's the tech on your gun or the training, or it doesn't matter. There's always something new to learn in the firearms industry, and just keep up to date on everything. So Yeah, I am Pat in a bunker. I may be in a missile silo somewhere in the Midwest or down south, who knows. But yeah, I've got a channel. It's called Pat in a Bunker. I've got some stuff on there that y'all might like. Just not a gun channel. I do some outdoorsy stuff and stuff too, with 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, some fishing, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So yeah, again, thanks for having me on, John. Appreciate it. And fingers crossed. Hopefully, LB77 does pass. All we've got is one more down, and we're in for the field goal, baby.
Again, if you're in Nebraska and you're not helping us, you're not even willing to make a phone call to some senators, then you also are present not voting and are just as worthless as those senators that get paid to make laws that choose to not cast a vote. So don't be complaining about them if you're one of them. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks everybody for being here. Let's see, who do we have tonight on the list? I know we had a few people on the Facebook side. We had Jolene was out there commenting up a storm. Jolene, I'm glad you were out there. Scott was out there, and I think Matthew. I saw Matthew out there just outside Fremont. So there's a few of you out there on the Facebook side. G-Webs and Gizzard Gary over on the Rumble side, and then who'd we have on the YouTubes? And again, if you weren't commenting, we didn't get to see you, so we're not going to read your name off. G-Webs, Kingpin, Vanessa Kitty, Woods, Travis P11, Jeff Moeller, Blitz, Defense Dad, M. Gabriel, Mr. Knives, DJ Play Nice, Idaho Rogers. I know there were a few others that were watching on Pat's channel. Let's see if I roll back up here. Can I see any of them?
I can name them off for you real quick.
What is that? Burnaby Sanchez?
Yeah, we had Burnaby Sanchez. We had Justin Gibbons. We had Rocall 219, Vanessa Kitty, and Woods was out there, and 223 DMR.
Yep, we did read Woods' name off. Because he was on the regular feed too. So yes, thank you all for joining in the conversation, helping us out. Richard's back there now again. So yep, okay. On behalf of everybody out there in the chat, on behalf of Defense Dad and Travis and Pat and Sandhill's Sweetheart and Liberty Bell, wherever she went, plus the noisy cat that was making noise earlier. She's apparently settled down now. I haven't heard her in a while. Thank you all very much for joining us. Go check us out again on Rumble. Please go and subscribe to Sandhills Media on Rumble, and we'll try to grow our presence over there. If you know people that would rather listen on podcast form, then tell them to look up Sandhills Media or the Get Off My Lawn podcast. It'd be better to search Sandhills Media. You won't get the Gavin McInnes show, which is great. And people try to accuse me of ripping him off, but I didn't know who he was when I named it. Anyway, have them check us out on the audio side on the podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all that stuff. We're on all the big ones. So go check them out. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. We'll keep this going on Wednesdays. I don't see a reason to change it. It's working just as well as far as people watching. I do know that some of you aren't able to watch this one and Chris from the 740 at the same time. I get it. Okay. But it doesn't matter when I pick, somebody else is going to be doing something at that point. So this works better for us than Thursday nights. So I think we'll keep it for a while. But anyway, we'll see you next week, 8 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday night, right here, wherever you're watching us live right now on those three platforms. Until then, it's time to get out of here. You know what you got to do, guys. Get off my lawn.
You can't stand